Hey family, Burpees for Vets Impact Advisor, Randy Salazar, CEO and co-founder of Mission Ladder Workforce Consulting Firm. I had the privilege and honor spending 10 years of my life on active duty with an additional 3 years as a federal contractor. As we dive into mental wellness and this discussion, I want to start off with some facts. The facts are we need to separate Hollywood and the glamorization of war and combat from the realities of military service. Most people have never seen combat who served in the military. And according to the Department of Veteran Affairs, more veterans who never deployed to a combat threat environment are taking their lives than those who did see combat. So it's important for us to make sure that we're having the right conversations surrounding mental wellness and our military-connected community. Another interesting fact, even among those who did go and serve in some sort of combat threat environment, approximately 20% of those who even went saw direct action with a known or suspected enemy. We need to ensure that the conversation surrounding veteran suicide remains broad and inclusive. The statistics say that more service members, more veterans who didn't go to combat are taking their lives than those who did. And that's not to diminish the service of those who did go and see combat. I myself am a combat veteran of the Iraq War. And in having this discussion, I also want to ensure that we're celebrating successes. Over the last several years, the Department of Veteran Affairs has made great strides at giving access to resources and ensuring that no one is left behind. Recently, women veterans saw the greatest decrease in suicide in 17 years. For myself, I began to struggle when I was still on active duty. In my early years as an Army Green Beret, I had already seen substantial combat, and I didn't have anywhere to turn while on active duty. I was afraid that my career would be halted, but the reality was I had a lot going on inside that I hadn't dealt with. My inability to process some of the traumatic experiences I had participated in ultimately led to multiple violent outbursts, led to living a high-risk life, one that wasn't sustainable. And my inability to reach out and find resources ultimately translated into me separating from the military. But it wasn't until a year later when I finally started to reach out for assistance. And it started with community. And I think that's where all of us can play an integral part. I didn't want to contact the VA. Those resources were for somebody else. There was somebody in a worse situation who had had it worse off than I did. So I didn't want to go to those resources. I didn't want to let the people around me know that I was struggling, but they knew it. And I was very fortunate to be surrounded by a community of non-military people, and they embraced me, and they dealt with my issues. They dealt with my inability to process things like a normal human being, and they helped guide me to the right resources. I eventually turned to the Department of Veteran Affairs. I filed my service-connected disability claim, and I enrolled into the VA healthcare system. I began to not only seek mental wellness assistance through the VA, but also diet and nutrition. After military service, we don't account for the transition away from 2, 3, 4 hours of fitness a day to being a regular civilian where you don't have the opportunity to work out as much as you used to. And all of these things play on our ability to acclimate to society. I also applied the unconventional approach, and I sought non-traditional solutions. I tapped into nonprofits that offered equine therapy, that got me out in the woods and allowed me to just breathe and accept the fact that my military service was honorable, it was impactful in my life, but it was just a chapter of my life. And I had to make the conscious decision to not be defined solely by my military service, which is why I'm here today, sharing with you a little bit about my story and how we can help make a meaningful impact in our military-connected community. Remember that as we go into this event as we knock out our burpees for the veterans, also think about their children, the spouses, the partners, those who are still on active duty, who are too afraid to access resources out of fear of losing out on promotions or career opportunities. This is where the conversation really should be around the entire military connected family and ecosystem.